going really, really well. I think, being in the special teams coordinator, I think you get to see everybody. And I think the culture that we have right now, I know Coach Chesney talked about it earlier, just way different than last year. I think, the older guys, have done a really good job of kind of leading the way. I think the transfers that we brought in have bought in, started in the spring, had a great summer. And these freshmen, it's a really, really exciting group. So we're really, really excited about where we're at right now.
We talked to some of the newcomers already, but what have you kind of liked from the transfers that you all have brought in?
I just think the buy-in, and that's not always easy. You talk about special teams, no one comes here to run down just on kickoff. No one comes here to be on the double team on kick return, but when you can watch the Trent Hendricks, when you can watch the Jacob Thomases, when you can watch the Tyler Browns, some of our most productive players, how they take notes in special teams, how they're the first ones up in each drill, that resonates down a little bit. So, and those transfers that have come in since day one, since that first practice in March, they have bought in, and I think it's going to pay major dividends for us. So I don't think, I don't think myself, Coach Chesney, Coach Mealy could be any happier about where we're at right now. Now can we keep stacking days? That's the biggest thing. I don't think we came here just to have 11 good practices. We want to keep that pendulum going up. So,
You have known and worked for Bob for a long time.
12 years.
How has he evolved as a head coach?
So his I get that question a lot. His core beliefs have never changed. So, attention to detail, positive attitude, urgency. Those are things that I remember being in the team room at Assumption. Those are the three things that he always talked about. But the thing that I have so much respect for is he's always wants to learn. If there's a better idea out there, a better way of doing something, he's not just going to say, well, I'm stuck in my ways. I've had all the success for 11 years. That's not how we do things. If I present something, Coach Hitchler, Coach DeMichael present an idea that he really likes, then that's how we're going to do it. He's not stuck in his ways. He motivates, I think, every year his message to the team. It's really the same message, but he presents it in a different way. So I think he's evolved quite a bit, but his core beliefs have never changed, and I don't think they'll ever change.
As a staff, what do you all view as the ceiling for this program?
Well, I think, we had, obviously, there's very high expectations from all of you, from the fan base, but I don't think they're what our expectations are through the roof. We kind of have our own expectations, which are extremely high. We know what's expected from us. We know what kind of talent we have. We know, we've got a chance to do some really, really good things. So I think the ceiling is extremely high. But I think the most important thing to us, and I know this isn't the answer you're probably looking for, is Thursday's practice.
Okay.
How can we get better? How can we get better at Thursday? So we're worried about all the other stuff, but we know what's expected. But we have our own expectations, and I think that was a big thing of Coach Chesney's first meeting that he had. We talked about the outside noise because he just come from media. All those polls come out, everybody's talking about us, but I think we have our own expectations, and those are extremely high.
Professional guys have figured this out, that for some of them, special teams is the best way to get on the field, and the fastest way. Have college and high school kids figured it out?
We're trying, and what we try to do, that first meeting that I had, special teams-wise, I showed a picture of Abdul Carter. And that's I think it was the fourth or third pick in the NFL draft, and he's running down on kickoff. We show a picture of Ezekiel Elliott as a freshman at Ohio State. He had 23 carries that year. But what was his role? He started on kickoff and makes a great hit. We've got receivers. Chris Olave we showed. We showed a couple other receivers running down on kickoff, making plays, and that's how those guys got started, Abdul Carter wasn't playing that much as a freshman. He got everything started because of special teams. So I think when you can show those pictures to 17, 18-year-old, 19-year-olds, they understand that. Then we show pictures of individual drills, and we had 8 drills that we did in the spring, and the first 2 guys in every single drill were number 5 for us and number 7 for us. And those are 2 of our most productive players in Trent and Jacob Thomas coming back. So for those younger guys that maybe don't buy in, well, when your most productive players are doing that, I think that's very, very important. And, the cool thing, and I tell the story all the time, look at Tyler Brown last year. Tyler Brown didn't play a lot of safety, but he started on 4 special teams. What happens in the bowl game? JT gets a little banged up. Who goes in there? Tyler Brown, and what does he do? Makes 2 tackles. But he didn't start there. He had to earn his trust and earn everything through special teams. So I'd like to think that we do a good enough job of that. The proof will be in the pudding in a couple weeks, but I think we're in a good spot with that.
Chase, are you the guys that kind of bought into that last year?
1,000%. You look at what Chase did for us. I mean, here's a kid that here's a player who came from one of the best schools in PA. Came in and from day one. I remember when I showed a bunch of those drills in August. There he is. He's one of the first guys out there. And again, I don't think he came here to be a gunner on punt and to be part of the double team on kick return. But that's what his role was last year. He embraced his role. And, you look at through the first 8 or 9 games, our punt team was, did some really good things, downing the ball inside the 10-yard line 4 times, downing the ball inside the 5-yard line 2 times. Chase Regan is one of those individuals. And the cool thing is he's continued that throughout spring, and he's continued that out through summer. He's had a really good camp special teams-wise, really good.
Talked to Coach Chesney a few times about the luxury of having a lefty at kick
Yes.
and at punter.
Yes.
How fun is it as a special teams coordinator to be able to just see the possibilities when you have that many options?
There's a lot of options there, and when we were recruiting Pat, in Morgan, that wasn't like the first thing that we talked about was, hey, we got to get a lefty. We knew we wanted specific things. They just both happen to be lefties, So it's pretty cool the way the things have worked out so far. So it's a big luxury, and there's a lot of different options, that we can do with all those guys, and hopefully we can do some of those. But it's really unique and it's fascinating. When we were at Assumption with Coach Chesney, we had a lefty kicked off, but we never had a lefty field goal kicker, So it's something that we're excited about. Very excited.
And how nice is it to have Pat even in practice? Because I know a lot of teams don't have that option to prepare for a punter that's a lefty. So how much is it helping just even your punter team?
Tremendously. It makes a big difference, when that ball comes off that left foot, the spin that it has coming down, that has been huge for us. Some of those returners have mentioned that, the difference that they feel. So it's been phenomenal to have that. And I think it's gonna help us at the end of the day.
Ask you again about Pat.
No
think
problem.
When he was talking to us, he said that your first call to him was on a Wednesday, and just 2 days later, he was here in Harrisonburg with you.
I never forget it. I coached Chesney. So at that point, we needed a punter. Where I was on the road, I was up in Maryland recruiting. It was about 3 o'clock. He sent me 10 guys. He said, Drew, take a look at these 10 guys. I had to be at good counsel at 6 o'clock for a workout, but I wanted to get something to eat. So it was a grocery store. I went in the grocery store, got a Nutri-Grain bar because there was no gas stations there. And I started watching some of the films on the guy. And I got to Pat, and I said, this is the guy. So I called him up. He was in class. I didn't know he was Australian. So when he picked up the phone, it was a little, did I call the right guy? He called up, and I've been doing this. I've been fortunate. I've been doing this for a little bit. Not to take away anything from any other one that I've recruited. It was the best 17-minute conversation that I have had with anybody. His personality is great. I said, what are you looking for? He said, I want a place that wins. I want a place where the specialists are involved in everything. I said, what do you mean? They're involved in the lifts. They're involved in the running. They're involved in everything. I said, okay. And he goes, I want to get coached. So those were the 3 things that he was looking for. That was on a Wednesday. I said, when can you come up? He said, tomorrow. I said, well, let's wait a day, and let's get you up on Friday. He came up on Friday. It couldn't have went better, and we're really, really excited that we're here, and that he's here. And he's done a really good job. And I think I said to somebody else, his leadership is also something that when you think of leaderships, you really don't think about a kicker. And he's done a really good job for us, as has Andrew Van Slyke. Both those guys have worked extremely hard. So he's done a great job. Great job.
I know you work with the tight ends too. Just like, what have you kind of seen from that group as camps go?
Competitive and toughness. I think those are 2 things we talk about every single day in that room. We want to be competitive and we want to be tough. And I think, we're in a really, really good spot this year. I think tight end's a unique position because you get the stats at the end of the game. And if you don't see a tight end with 5 catches, no one really talks about him. But I think, offensively, if we're going to run the football, it's going to, tight end wise, we want the ball run behind us. We want 27,000 people out there knowing they're going to run right behind the tight end. And I think we're in a really, really good spot. You look at that group right now, it's tough kids, mentally tough kids. It's a great group to be around. I can't say enough about all those guys, the freshmen that have come in. We're really, really excited. I myself, and I know the rest of the offensive staff is really excited about where we're at. We just got to keep it rolling.
How do you feel about foot protection now?
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously, at the end of the year, things kind of, I think that what happened was, to be honest with you, Shane, is I think there was little cracks in the armor that were kind of happening throughout the year that didn't really cost us. And then I think, as we got through, you get more film on teams. people see the little cracks and they take advantage of it. So I think this offseason, what I tried to do was to go back and, okay, how can I teach it better? You know, do we have the right personnel out there? Ultimately, it falls on me. You know, that can't happen. I felt like through the first 8 games, special teams-wise, we had done some really good things. We had helped our team win, but I think towards the end of the year, you know, I didn't do a good enough job. Felt like I let us down team-wise. So I think we've gone back and we've really, every little detail is going to get covered. You know, we've got, you know, a lot of people involved. I think we've got the right people out there this year and the right players out there. Not that we didn't have the right players out there last year, but I think every little detail is going to get covered, you know, as much as it can in every single meeting. So we feel really, really good about where we're at right now. So, good.